Want to shave seconds off your lap time and outlast the competition this season? Yeah, you can ride more, but that'll only get you so far. The real secret lies in these essential bike modifications and maintenance routines. I'm going to tell you how I'm prepping my dirt bike for performance and reliability during this off-season. This is my off-season race prep guide, and without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. So number one, first thing that I do to get my dirt bike ready during the off-season is simply wash the bike, take off all the plastics, and wash underneath the plastics to remove all the dirt and get the bike as clean as possible. I don't scrub the dirt stains for the most part, I just remove the big bits of sand and mud. Having a clean motorcycle to work on is important. The last thing you want is to have dirt falling inside of the sealed parts like bearings or even inside of your engine. I also like to take a lot of time and clean out the garage and get a good workspace so that I know where all my tools are. It makes working on the bike a whole lot easier and enjoyable. So once you clean the bike, you cleaned up the garage, so now the second part is to visually inspect the dirt bike for anything that might shock you, kind of surprise you. I like to check around the radiators, the frame, look around the engine casing and look for oil leaks and basically look for anything out of the usual. I've noticed anything from dirt inside of the gas tank to broken plastics and bent levers. After noticing the things that need addressing, I write them down on my notes app on my phone. I'll use this list later to order parts over the next month or two. Dirt bike parts are expensive, so I don't necessarily order them all at once, but I like to have an idea of what I'm gonna need for the next season. This is the stage that I'm actually currently at, and I've ordered a set of plastics and a skid plate from Sicra, as well as a chain and sprocket kit from Renthal. If you want to see how these parts go on my bike and what they look like, subscribe and watch out for those videos coming soon. That leads me to the third step of getting the dirt bike ready for race season, which is going to be bleed your front brake and your rear brake, as well as your hydraulic clutch if you have one. Making sure that all hydraulic systems are working properly is very important. Not only can it cause damage, but being out for a ride and not having these components work can be very frustrating and dangerous. I always make a point to take off the master cylinder cap and clean out the entire reservoir, as well as pump new brake fluid through the whole line. In past years when I've bled my hydraulic systems, I've noticed clumps of dirt in the brake reservoirs, as well as broken down brake fluid. I always check my brakes and clutch fluids so I can keep them running smoothly and prevent a mechanical failure from happening out on the track or trail. Even though they may be working fine now, it's good to replace the fluid while they're working so that you don't have a mechanical failure and get stranded out there. That's going to conclude the bleeding hydraulic fluids section, which is going to bring us into the next section, which is number 4, and that is going to be replacing all bearings. So this is going to include your wheel bearings, steering bearings, as well as your linkage bearings and other suspension bearings. Over the course of the season, these bearings wear down and they overall cause a loss of suspension performance. It can be hard to tell that they're hurting the suspension's performance, so it's best to replace them at least every off-season or just as they go bad. During this past year, I had to replace the wheel bearings midway through the season in my front wheel and my rear wheel. When replacing your bearings, make sure you use a lot of grease so that the bearings last as long as possible. The grease seals them and keeps them working fluidly so that they don't break down and wear out quickly. So make sure you change out your bearings this off season. Although you can ride with worn out bearings, if you want your bike to be handling and performing as best as it can, you need to have fresh bearings that are greased up, keeping your bike's suspension working properly. As I mentioned suspension there, that brings me into the 5th topic, which is getting suspension serviced. Starting the year with new suspension fluid and other components is a huge advantage. Suspension fluids break down over time and change the handling characteristics of your dirt bike. Getting the suspension serviced a month before the race gives me enough time to get the suspension back and install it on my bike, make sure it's ready for the race. Handling suspension can be very tedious and an overall very confusing job. That's why I pay to have a company do all the services on my suspension, as well as tune it for my weight and my riding style. Having factory connection suspension service my suspension regularly, as well as tune it for my weight, has dramatically increased my results and made riding the bike much more enjoyable, and overall has made me a better rider. Last but not least is a very important step, which is coming in at number 6, and that's going to be putting brand new tires on your dirt bike. Starting off the race season with brand new tires is a good way to get a head start off the start. For the most part throughout the season, I'm able to get 2 races per set of tires. Keeping your tires fresh keeps your bike handling consistently, which will also make you more comfortable on the bike and overall make you a better rider. The higher level of racing, the more likely that everybody on the line will have brand new tires. It just goes to show how important tire changing is. Having new tires is very important, but it's also important what is inside of the tires. Having a good tube compound is imperative. I use Mousse bib tubes, which is essentially foam inserts that replaces the air tubes in your tire. These foam tubes have increased my bike's traction and also made me more comfortable going through sharp rocks where I would have been worried about pinching a tube and catching a flat tire. So that's going to be the last step for getting your dirt bike ready for race season. Make sure you get some brand new tires on there and also pick out a good tube that you're happy and comfortable with. That's pretty much it for my off-season race prep guide. To sum it up for you, I went through washing the bike, visually inspecting for needed parts, bleeding the hydraulics, and replacing bearings, servicing suspension, and installing new tires with the right tubes. If you're interested in seeing more videos, go subscribe. And if you like this style of video, go check out my other video called Winter Dirt Biking. 6 cold weather gear essentials you're forgetting and regretting. In that video I go over how I continue riding all throughout the winter and keep my skills fresh so that when I hit the track in April, I'm ready to ride. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.